going on, people? So, if you guys might remember back on June 22nd, a couple weeks ago, I went with a friend to see Croce Plays Croce at a local amphitheater here in Utah. Well, anyways, the guy's name was Faye. He's 60, 61, divorced, grown kids, that type program, where we can relate. My kids are grown. Anyways, so he calls me up earlier today and goes, "Do you have a little time to talk?" I said, "I'm really busy today," and I was. "But can we talk later?" He goes, "Yeah, I went out on a date Friday night, and I just got to tell you about it, man. You're just not going to believe it." So I said, "Sure, yeah, whatever." So about an hour ago, I finally got up with him. I said, "Faye, how was your day?" And he was just gotten some food and had fed one of his daughter's dogs up in Roy, which is 2 towns north, because they're out of town, and he's just filling in and helping out. Well, anyways, he just got home, and I know this guy well enough to know that he's a straight shooter. He's not one that's going to exaggerate and make up shit. Well, anyways, he tells me about this woman that he met in a Chevron gas station. He says, in all my years, I've never met a woman in a gas station, and probably serves me right. But he says this woman was really cute and long blonde hair, and he was guessing mid to late 40s. Looks like she's about 50. She was very jovial and witty, and he said that he was getting a Diet Coke and she was getting a coffee, and she was just fun, And I'm like, yeah, I remember when women used to be like that, And he says, while they were waiting to check out at the register, she kept touching his shoulder and kind of laughing on his jokes, and everything was going fine. Well, he says after they paid for their stuff, they went out to the parking lot and they talked a little bit. And he said that she kissed his cheek at one point, and then when they were going to part company, because they agreed that they were going to have dinner together that night, she kissed her finger and put it on his cheek as they were leaving. So an hour later, he said that they met at the local Red Lobster here in Layton. And he's a little hard hearing, and I know this, in his right ear. So when you talk to him, sometimes he'll, lean in to his left so he can hear you better. Well, they had a booth, and instead of sitting across from her, he sat next to her, which she didn't complain, but she kind of gave him this look like, that's kind of odd. And I think it somehow came up in a conversation, and he explained that he was a little deaf in his right ear. So people to his left, it works better for him. So anyways, they had apparently a nice dinner, and he said he tapped her a couple times on the knee, and she was wearing kind of tighter jeans, those jeans that you buy that have the designer tear in the knee. And well, after dinner, she said, "So, what are you doing? What's up?" And he goes, "Well, I'm going to run up to Roy and feed my daughter's dog. And then, I don't know, I have my guitar in my truck. Maybe we could get together after that and I could play a few songs," because he moonlights as kind of a local musician who just, plays country favorites on, the acoustic guitar. Right. So I've jammed with him a couple times too. He's fun. Well, she says, "Look, she says, "Can I come?" And he said, "Yeah." And she says, "Well, why take 2 cars just up to Roy? Why don't we go back to my place, leave your big truck, and we'll just jump in my little SUV and run up and feed your daughter's dog." So they went back to the house, and she had like a double wide trailer near the military base here, and dropped off his truck. And then they went up and fed the dog and came back. Well, he, was like, "You want me to get out my guitar and sing a couple songs?" She's like, "Yeah, of course. Come on in." So she invites him in, and that's right. They went in the house before they fed the dog, and he met her Great Dane that weighed approximately 160 pounds, and then this little dog that was no bigger than a man's foot that weighed about 3 pounds. Well, anyways, then they went to fed the dog. Then they came back, and all of a sudden, as he's tuning his guitar on her couch, she's suddenly freaking out about what's wrong with her Great Dane, and pointing out that he has this limp and he doesn't look right and all this. And he says he was tuning his guitar, and he's like, I don't notice anything different from when I saw him an hour ago. Oh my God, yes. What did you do to him? All this. And he's like, what? I was just sitting here on the couch tuning my guitar. So then apparently she's muttering stuff and tells him to put the guitar away and to leave. So he starts to put the guitar away, and then she goes, no, sing me a song, but let me look inside your guitar case. Do you have any weapons? He's like, unless you consider a guitar pick a weapon. So she actually opened his case back up, took his guitar out, looked in there, went through the place where the songbooks are and where you keep your tuner if you have a tuner and your guitar picks and all this shit. Of course, found no contraband, nothing spooky. And she goes, okay, good. You don't have any weapons. Now play me a song. So I guess he did her an Alan Jackson song. And then she says, okay, well, thanks for the song, but you got to go. And the other thing she was doing when they were riding up to Roy was that she was texting, I guess, with an old boyfriend, somebody named Dan. And they were going back and forth. And, he was curious to know who she was with. And he says the whole night was just nuts. Well, anyways, he left, probably dodged a bullet. And the next day, Saturday morning, late morning, he just texted her. He was like, hey, how are you? And how's the dog doing? Has it gotten better or worse? Or, just how are you? And how's the dog? And then she texted back. He said, my ex-husband works for the FBI and I forwarded your information to him and he's going to look into you and all this other business and do a thorough background check, which she said she failed to do. And he's like, why would you even think about that? I'm just texting you to see, how you and your dog are doing. We're through. I don't want to see you again. And he goes, what did I do wrong? I don't understand. Oh, you had your hands all over me and you're an ass. And he's like, well, now you're calling me an ass? How did I have my hands all over you? Oh, you touched my knee 3 times at dinner. 50-year-old woman. He's 61. Mm-hmm. Oh, and she's got this autistic son and he's grown and the state took him and, the sky's falling and 63 other problems. And apparently he finally just realized she was batshit crazy and she kept saying that her ex-husband was going to, deal with him accordingly. So, beware and to never contact her again. And he's like, he said, lady, you're batshit crazy and you need therapy. So I don't know. Yeah, that's what he told me in 45 minutes. So I just had to abbreviate it to 8 minutes, which, yeah. But anywho, it was refreshing to me to hear something like this because, here I've been bitching lately about not being able to find a date, and the reasons why. Well, the way I look at it is it's probably just my angels looking out for me. We're just, you've known enough crazy girls and women in your life, Mr. Scott. So we're just gonna, and we're gonna give you the wisdom that if crazy shows up, who is it? It's crazy. I'm sorry, we're all full up here. Go away. Yeah, women, there's a lot of women out there that are Kukula, Fran, and Ollie, man. I mean, they're just out there. And I don't know why. This chick obviously, her meds were wearing off her. And then I looked her up because he gave me her first and last name and the spelling. And I found her on Facebook. And she looks like high maintenance and a lot of her information doesn't jive, especially from what she told him, but some of the things did. And it was just weird shit. So all these women are so worried about doing background checks on guys. And, is this guy even worth going out and having coffee with? Well, guys, listen to me. Okay. True story. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. There's a lot of really mentally misplaced women out there with a lot of misdirected anger, a lot of free time on their hands. And, they watch too much of The View and Oprah and Ellen DeGenerate. That's right. Ellen DeGenerate. And all this other shit, and the Me Too's and the Femme Nazis and all these, groups that teach women that, every man you meet's a pervert or a pedophile, and helicopter parenting, and do a background check if you're going to have coffee with a guy and all this other stuff. Well, fellas, paranoia may destroy you. Right. Okay. That's my other phone going off. I will get back to that. But anyways, in closing, be careful, guys. There's a lot of shit out there. Okay? A lot of shit. All right? Uncle Scott loving you. Peace out.